Ladies and gentlemen, welcome out to the New York City Poetry Festival. Is everybody having a great time so far? Beautiful day. I'm glad you guys all made it out. We are, in fact, Underground Books, a local Manhattan, Harlem publishing company. We have a table, I think, if you could see all the pretty colors over here in that row. If you come to that table, you join the free raffle. We got some beautiful books, poetry from all over the world. I don't think we have anyone published from Antarctica at this point, but if there's something with over 70 titles that you like, we're going to put you in the right book. We want you to go home with good poetry today. Underground Books is supporting two events. One, the Jackie Robinson Poetry Day, which is a festival here in Manhattan and Harlem. If you've ever heard the song, "Take the A train to Harlem," you do that, and you get off at 145th Street. And on September 18th, Jackie Robinson Poetry Day is going to become a beautiful outdoor bandshell theater that you can come and perform your own poetry and come check out all that local Harlem talent that you can't get enough of. Some of our readers, Carla Cherry has a table over there. It's a lot of fun. I also should say something about the New York Browning Society, but you come back for the 5 o'clock. We're going to be doing a show at that. Let's kick this thing off with some of our hottest readers at Underground Books. Some of the best books we sell are from these authors. Ladies and gentlemen, can we give a warm round of applause for Mr. Tom D'Egidio?
And it tells a true story of one of my old girlfriends, Japanese girlfriend, etc., etc. Anyway, Carmina Metrica, I wrote my love a Latin letter in verse, a dirty trick to use against the daughter of a samurai, and sent my romance words to a second Cambridge. A damned clever bunch of antique words whipped sharply into shape by the sometimes quick-witted lad I then long ago was, even if selfish to a fault, my missive missing the mark, so perfectly confected, Carmina Condere, heroic coupling described in heroic couplets, chiming so well as to be better than that newfangled thing called rhyme could ever be. The thrusting wave of the first 4 feet of the hexameter curls over in the dactylic fifth and breaks on the final spondee, to ebb again with the backwash of the pentameter, echoing our nights together. So many that even then I marveled at how she managed to keep her declensions straight after our lengthy conjugations. Tota nocte had all but obliterated sleep. My best Palmer method could not hope to compete against her father's graceful brushstrokes, nor did I don any ceremonial robes before commencing, yet I soon received a passing grade from my lover, who declared I'd made, quote, no mistakes, unquote. Poor swap for the loss of my Eurydice to Harvard, or rather, she was one of the frenzied bacchantes who had ripped off the head of Orpheus, and I was the one needing rescue from the underworld. And one more poem, something that I just scribbled down. It's called The Lover. I live in the small spaces, as people do. What's with the helicopter? It's the FBI. The lover. I live in the small spaces, as people do in all totalitarian sprees, when cross-frivolization carries the day. My table is so cluttered, there's just one small corner where I can perch my morning coffee and a muffin whose substantiality, as opposed to transubstantiation, confirms my re-entry into the solidity of yet another day when mere questions may serve as threats. How is your life going? My nights. Their eyes close and the trapdoor clicks open, and I am once more the lover. Like the dying down of a sandstorm, a sticky coarseness ceases to abrade me. I mentally play the piano I no longer own. I read a poem repressed by its own author, who paid the price nonetheless. I try to be as still as possible so that energized evil will only revolve around me unconsciously. Angels and saints fly about overhead. I try to be more still yet, listening for the perhaps inaudible trickling of the water of life replenishing my cistern. But I can accept all that goodness up to a certain point only. Over I go to the mirror and try again to understand why my mirror image is reversed side to side, but not top to bottom. I step aside just in time to remain the lover, to keep that trapdoor open for at least a few more hours. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give another round of applause for Tom Diagidio. We got a fantastic lineup laid out today. Welcome once again to the New York City Poetry Festival. I am your host, James Brownie Kepple, representing undergroundbooks.org, your friendly Manhattan publishing company since 1997. We want to bring up a professor of, originally of art history and literature. Here, he taught for many years. A lot of you may have been his student. Let's give a warm round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for the very talented poet, translator, and writer, Professor Robert Kramer, ladies and gentlemen.
This is a New York poem, Winter Night on Central Park West. It was a festive evening, candlelit, a gathering of aged emigres, and I, then young, was dazzled by their conversation, effervescent, highly literate in several languages, but slightly melancholic, despite the golden wines of Grinzing, the sweet and amber wines of Hungary. As the pianist, discreet in black, played softly Wienerlieder, Pusta songs, and melodies from once familiar operettas. At a time, someone would raise her head to sing along, but softly, briefly. And I heard fragments of their recollections, ironic, unsentimental, not altogether, of another world now lost forever. Then the hour is late, the parting, the solemn toning of the great clock, the heavy overcoats, the furs, the scarves, the shawls, the woolen hats, berets, papahas, and visored caps, occasionally a cane, emerge before the last embraces, brushed kisses on both flushed and furrowed cheeks, the lost, the camps of horror not forgotten, finally to step out into a chill winter night on Central Park West, the fiercest wind from the river, the black branches in the park swaying, the roar of darting yellow cabs that pass, their red taillights glowing in the New York night. Our gloved hands raised and waving, we compete with doormen in uniforms and their shriller whistles amid traffic, bustle, and the new world. And I knew then an era was ending. I need a footnote for this poem. There is a curious garment described in the poem, and I should mention that is the safety uniform of an officer of the United States Army who's dealing with poison gases. In any case, this is Metamorphosis. My children have never seen me in my green rubber protective suit, my green rubber boots and gloves, my eyes hidden behind my gas mask with its massive bulging goggles and bestial projecting snout like the proboscis of some monstrous insect or a 1938 vision of a Martian, as beneath a scalding sun, a rubber hose sprays ice-cold water over me while my boots fill with my own sweat, and I waddle toward those ominous metal cylinders with my heavy gloved hands flapping and flailing like the rudimentary wings of a randy penguin. For I have become the crayon drawing that my 6-year daughter made for me as a present on my 30th birthday. A drawing of my head beside a lamp, heaps of papers and piles of books before me, an ancient purple pen between my fingers, furrows on my brow, a frown on my face, and beneath my huge and glaring glasses, my eyes unseen. Thus, on this high summer night, I must face the frantic, circular dance and flutter of pallid moths, and all those others, those minute and nameless creatures that flee the all-encompassing dark, to the lure of the single yellow lamp that rests upon my littered desk and shines down on my moving midnight hands. In solitude and secret then, I set down my ancient purple pen and read again and yet again the suicide note of one most dear before I quite turn out that luring light, and to the empty room I say, good night. For as a swiftly moving hand casts a moving shadow on the moth beneath it, and the settled moth casts a settled shadow on the static table where it rests, each shadow is consumed in one far greater shadow. And I'll conclude. This poem is called Gaudy Parrots. Amid the squawks of gaudy parrots high in the trees, the endless background chatter of long-tailed yellow monkeys, and the quick scamper of lizards seen but from the corner of the eye, I, as scientist, must seek out and attend the last few aging speakers of a dying language, one now on the very verge of extinction. As these final speakers speak through its most complex and subtle grammar, certain melodious sentences with their haunting sibilant words and phrases, perhaps never to be heard again. And likewise, I, as poet, might well venture to note the small, unregistered gestures of human interaction, to fix and hold those fleeting moments, to pluck them from the flux of time, suspend them in timelessness and light, and also to recover through things half said, left floating in the air of this sullen city, the spoken words still warm from the mouth, and those quivering just on the tip of the tongue, halted and unsaid, perhaps forevermore silent. But now, when someone very dear has slit her wrists and no words will help, I attempt to bring alive again her mind by listening to the music she had loved, perhaps to find in a certain harp arpeggio, in a certain minor theme or oboe phrase, something in her I had missed, neglected, or ignored. Thank you.
His book is available once again at the prettiest, most vibrant colored table over there on Book Publisher Row. At the Underground Books, you can find his new book, Veer. It is one to take home today. The next reader, however, is representing the very beautiful state of Mexico, the Distrito Federal, the Dirty DF. He has a beautiful publishing press. If you've never had the chance to check it out, it's called Dark Light Publishing out of Mexico City. Moonlighting between NYC and Mexico City, the two most important places in North America. Let's give a warm round of applause for this new book, Unknown Words, by Roberto Mendoza Ayala.
Thank you, James. Thanks. Underground Books. It's amazing to be here. I want to read from my book the poem first in English, and after that, the same poem in Spanish, Español. The first one is Not Love. The lost love lasts only one life. Love lives and dies with its participants. Children aren't love. Love letters are not love. There is no love in the black granite tombstones of Père Lachaise. They will be buried too. The books we've read, they are not love, nor the poems written against oblivion. En español es, no son amor. El amor que pasó dura solo una vida. El amor vive y muere con sus participantes. Los hijos no son amor. Las cartas de amor no son amor. No son amor las tumbas en granito negro de Père Lachaise. También ellas serán enterradas. Los libros leídos no son amor, ni los poemas escritos contra el olvido. Thank you. The next one is the bull. The bull. I am marked like a slaughtered bull, ready for the butcher's cuts. My corpse has a map where a city bears your name, the outline of a sky crossed by constellations threads. One of them borrows your sign. My map is a bundle of the lines of your hands, surrounding a hill, a guide to the unfinished tracks of the subway that runs through your body. My map is the faded blueprint of a never-built house where you still dwell. It is the rising of the power lines that summon birds mute on their poles. drowned in my own blood, overwhelmed by the greed traced on my skin. There, the dots, the lines, the diagram of your piercing roots. Thank you. And now, en español, the same poem con el título La res. Marcado estoy como una res sacrificada, listo para los cortes. Mi cadáver tiene un mapa donde una ciudad lleva tu nombre, el trazo de un cielo cruzado por hilos de constelaciones. Una de ellas tiene tu signo. Mi mapa es un atado de las líneas de tus manos rodeando una colina, una guía de las vías inconclusas del subterráneo que te recorre cuerpo entero. Mi mapa es el plano desvaído de una casa sin construir donde aún habitas. Es el tendido de un cableado que congrega pájaros mudos en sus postes. Ahogado en mi sangre, agobiado por esa red trazada sobre mi piel, están allí los nodos, las líneas, el diagrama de tus clavadas raíces. Thank you. Night words. I will create a night by writing many words. Then I will soak them in squid ink and make a swamp out of them to drown them there. Some other day I will get them out of the mud. Dry, they will frolic around the shit like a revolt of headless ants. Oh, the night. From the dock, I see my ships burning. My verse wanders through a silent desert, dark as a noon's secret, and black as the crotch of Africa. The night was born and grew inside this poem. It is reproduced here. En español, palabras de noche. Crearé una noche escribiendo muchas palabras. Después las mojaré en tinta de calamar y haré con ellas un pantano para ahogarlas allí. Cualquier otro día las sacaré del lodo, secas, retozarán por la hoja como una revuelta de hormigas descabezadas. ¡Ay, la noche! Desde su muelle veo mis naves quemarse. Mi verso vaga por un desierto mudo, obscuro como un secreto de monja y negro como la entrepierna de África. La noche nació y creció en este poema. Se reproduce aquí. Thank you.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, we are Underground Books. If you haven't checked by our table, it's right there on the publisher's row. We have the pretty books. You gotta check us out. We're the oldest table here. This is our 8th year at the New York City Poetry Festival. I am James Browning Kepple, the founder of Underground Books, and I'm gonna read a poem. Is that okay if I introduce myself? Is that all right? This is a newer poem entitled Chain Flatten. Tether the children, sling them up the gaudy slip surge of aluminum, handle their scalp to pull apex and pledge they will be fluoroscoped, awash in your penetrative gaze radiocarbon. Now that we've dated and killed off the old, we have to tap the young, a firm spank to the thumbing of our fear-mongering, you child, we will find a cure for you. Left for doubt are the cool kids racing dirt bikes down Adam Clayton in midday with sun flowing in hair, the warm console of Mother Nature, a cradle for their undeveloped frontal lobes to enjoy the true rapture of life, ensuing all around without deference to bills, stay-at-home orders, the Dateline news, streaming cerebellum. They just served a slipshod and wheelie down asphalt, glad at the nurture and speed, a gradient delight and smile as light by light their little motor gang arises, swells in numbers, till the critical mass of Manhattan has an army of youthful flesh to reconcile pounding the avenues in their joyous beat. For where then do the tanks meet the juveniles? When will their blood be drained for the controllers? Lapped up in baths of rejuvenation are dead black boys of Harlem, sucked dry and white. Separate all of these conversations of history. Completely eliminate the chain of narrative. Do not let the old speak to the young. Do not let the family continue on without hardship, for the true scar comes from bloodletting the spawn, demonstrating how truly breakable and flawed human flesh thus becomes. They have a handle for this clay redefined, bone seared into stone, children dead to stop our human virus, children dead, must over, and tears in the street. Thank you. All right, so I have one more poem. Yeah, I understand. I'm going to read it. Do you mind? Okay, so I'm going to read one more poem. It's called Perry. We're getting the yank. This poem is entitled. It's not long. This poem is entitled Perihelion We Shall Stare Together. Cross out the Sudoku, fill out the crossword to parch our speech and numbers to games. A pariah of the outclassed data we remain to seek parity and fail as always these things do. In the parlor, I found you drawing face paint. For what pairing has your face resplendent come down to such paintings? You look for pathos. Pathos has been removed. We, pathogenesis on welfare, flip the channel, struggle with passable nutrition of brain. The brain, my dear, has been replaced. Check out the new Google invention, escape. In the wave of surf, you ask, can we swim? Marginally, I'd say it's pastiche. A pastel that left running defines your tears. Such beauty of blubber all over your features. See, the talk of the masses devoid of pasturage, the birth of a number so desired they separate, cut from the penance your gods of old. They served a pendulous dangle odd fool's gold. Dry, no, we shall stay here, love. Don't skip stones, a penchant for stirred lakes of loss, for water shall always decree a way forward. And if we join this liquid pejorative, live, the pith of our speech shall be lost. Down with the wooden crates drowned. Stare with me, stare hard, sun, remain. Black spots of fortune, for the soothsayers have laid lead into the fountain, and we drink delicious poison always. Thank you. Undergroundbooks.org. Check us out. We're right over here. Some of the best, beautiful, pretty Manhattan books you can find. Enjoy your stay here at the New York City Poetry Festival. Thank you.